Bizarre Brain Comics. Oh, hello again, my friends, to Bizarre Brain Comics, and I am your host, the Dark Librarian, and I am here to tell you tales of terror. Here with my friend, Mr. Bones. And Mr. Bones here is holding the tale that we're going to speak of tonight. This is Ghost Manor, number 12, Charlton Comics, 1974. And here, my throat is parched. And consult the tome of knowledge to see what it has to say. Ghost Manor, number 12, from 1973. I misspoke. Actually, I think it was actually released in 73 with the cover date from 74. This is by Charlton Comics. And the story we're going to talk about is called The Wizard, written by Gill and drawn by Pat Boyette. And Ghost Manor is a horror suspense anthology title from Charlton Comics running from 1968 to 1984. Primarily reprints from 78 onward. And this book ran through 2 volumes. Volume 1 had the Old Witch as a horror host, not to be confused with EC's Old Witch horror host. And Volume 2 was hosted by Mr. Bones. Ooh! Not to be confused with this Mr. Bones. No. That is our little introduction. So, let us join this Mr. Bones in a tale of terror in Ghost Manor. And here you can see this cover of Ghost Manor number 12. The cover painting, full painting by Pat Boyette. They did some, especially on the horror titles. They would do a fully painted cover. This is by Pat Boyette. And we've talked about Pat Boyette, both Gill and Pat Boyette, several times before. And they were co-creators of The Peacemaker for Charlton Comics, which is now owned by DC Comics, and made his movie debut in The Suicide Squad and had a TV series. Okay. There was a wave of new horror comics from Charlton during the early 70s, which Ghost Manor was a part of. And Ghost Manor had many sister titles with many of the same creators. And some of these titles were Many Ghosts of Dr. Graves, Haunted, and Ghostly Tales. And Charlton was known for low page rates for the creators, and low quality production values, which resulted in few notable characters and stories. Some of the regular contributors to Ghost Manor and the other titles were Pat Boyette, Steve Ditko, Joe Gill, Sanho Kim, Nicola Cuddy, Wayne Howard, Pete Morisi, Tom Sutton, among many others. So we'll take just a brief little stroll here. See, right off the bat, it said, "The wolf howls for you," and Steve Ditko's story. Now this is, and he was common in these. Also did a good deal of horror for and the like for DC at about this time and a little later. This is not Ditko's best work by any means. It looks pretty rushed. It tells the story fine, but it doesn't quite convey the mood as well as a lot of his other stuff. Here we have, I don't even know who the penciler is, named Nicholas, and then Wayne Howard did the inking on this story. And this is, actually, the draftsmanship and storytelling is in here is superior to Steve Ditko's. Oh, and then here we see the ad for some of the other titles at this time. You see Haunted, The Many Ghosts of Dr. Graves, Ghostly Tales, Ghostly Haunts, and Ghost Manor. So, and here we are with our story, The Wizard, by Pat Boyette. Yeah, Pat Boyette did the art, and Joe Gill wrote it. And I think Joe Gill wrote the other stories too. It could have been some Nicola Cuddy. I've forgotten now. But this is a reasonably well written story, and very good artwork from Pat Boyette. And here we have our horror host, Mr. Bones, not the same as Mr. Bones, who's my guest, or my co-host there. And here it's some unspecified time, roughly contemporary times, in probably a Bavarian, or somewhere in that part of the world, village. The Wizard. And here's this in this village, it's all run pretty roughshod over this nobleman who is a wizard, and he has occasional gatherings of other sorcerers. And here he and his lady are consulting a great tome, and they're raising a compatriot of theirs from the dead right at the very beginning, because he is a big purveyor of evil, and they want him to join in their revelry. And here in the village there was silence. Not a light showed. Nothing moved. Where is Martin? He should have returned by now. And this is Martin. You can see it's nicely drawn, and it's very unlike that Steve Ditko story. It's very moody. Not as dynamic as Ditko's was, but it's more illustrative, and it tells the story well, and which really suits the darkness of this story. And here everyone's pretty much hiding out in town, and there he arrives. Martin arrives. Von Kohler is an evil wizard. He summons Satan from hell so that he may serve him. Because he had overheard the cultists. Yeah, and that's the problem. So we saw torches coming down the causeway. Yada yada yada. Oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? It's hard to say. And here are the cultists and all these sorcerers. There's the raised corpse of their compatriot as they head to the castle. You can see them all in a row. They're coming down. There they are in the castle. And the witch there has been she says, "Come, Baron, taste the elixir of evil I have concocted to your directions." And he tries it. "Oh, let us all present partake of the devil's wine." And they all take a little sip of whatever it is. There they are. Then they do their conjuring, and they're raising the devil, this demon, up. And it starts to manifest, rising up out of the cauldron. And there he is. Oh, horrifying looking guy. Not quite so terrible as it could have been. But enough. Everything all red tinged and amongst the smoke and the flash. And art nicely done. Pat Boyette was known for doing stuff, page layouts like this and other, as we saw in this one. This not so much in the story. Later, more dynamic and sometimes interesting page layouts. And here the wizard said, "You invoke me, evil servant. What is your wish?" He says, "In the valley below, there are fools who wish me ill. We ask you, Prince of Darkness, to strike down these enemies." He goes, "Do you ask it humbly, Von Kohler? You do not entreat me to perform this favor. Rather, you bid me do it, as thou would a servant." Oh. "Let us not bandy words, great prince. I am like you. I have served you well." And he has, and because he has deigned to think he can command the service of this great demon who proffers him power, says, "Now I call on you, master, to serve me." And then the castle, nicely drawn castle there. And then suddenly, lightning strike on the castle. Said, "You fool, Satan serves no man." And because he deigned to order his master, here's one of the interesting and more dynamic page layouts. Here, telling the story, but making it more visually interesting. As the castle begins to collapse around him and struck repeatedly by lightning, said, "No, no, no." And here they are in the village saying, Lightning, Otto, it struck the castle. Smell of the hellfire and brimstone." Yes, and then the castle collapses. The wizards jump to their doom while Von Kohler himself is there. And being punished by his master right there. Then later, and the village everyone goes up to find the bodies, and they find the body of the raised dead man. Well, we can always bury him again. We buried him once, we can bury him again. And that is the end of the story. It's a short story. It's fairly well told. And it's some of Pat Boyette's nicest artwork. It's not too tight and too crowded like he did early on in Peacemaker, but not almost ridiculously loose as in some of the other stories that I've showed with him. And that is all we've got this time for Ghost Manor. So thank you for joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe. And remember, comics are art.